Are you eating what you believe is healthy, reaching for a handful of nuts every day and yet still feeling inflamed, tired, gaining weight, or watching your cholesterol and blood sugar slowly creep upward? If so, you're not alone, and the reason may surprise you. Here's a truth that catches many people off guard after 60. Not all nuts are healthy for an aging body. In fact, some of the most popular nuts can quietly accelerate inflammation, disrupt metabolism, and strain your blood vessels and liver as you get older. And this isn't because nuts are bad. It's because your body changes after 60, and foods that once worked for you may now work against you. Here's what's really happening inside your body. As we age, three major systems shift at the same time. Insulin sensitivity declines, the liver becomes less efficient at processing fats, and chronic low-grade inflammation quietly rises. This means the type of fat you eat matters far more than the amount. Nuts are often marketed as superfoods, but nutritionally, they are dense packages of fats, plant proteins, and bioactive compounds. Some of those compounds protect your heart and brain. Others, especially when oxidized, overprocessed, or eaten in excess, do the exact opposite. Think of your metabolism like a fireplace. When you burn clean, dry wood, you get steady warmth and energy. But when you burn damp or treated wood, you get smoke, irritation, and residue that clogs the system. Some nuts burn clean, others create metabolic smoke. And after 60, your body is far less forgiving of that smoke. Research shows that the fatty acid profile, processing method, portion size, and even timing of nuts determine whether they protect your health or quietly accelerate aging. This is why two people can eat nuts daily and experience completely different outcomes. One sees better cholesterol, sharper thinking, and steady energy. The other develops inflammation, belly fat, brain fog, or digestive issues. Same food, very different biology. In this video, you've learned which four nuts to strictly limit or avoid after 60, and which four nuts truly support longevity, brain health, and metabolic stability when eaten correctly. Cashews, despite their healthy reputation, behave more like refined carbohydrates. They spike insulin, suppress fat burning, and promote visceral fat storage in insulin-resistant adults. Peanuts, which are technically legumes, contain lectins and are prone to mold toxins that stress the gut and liver, especially in aging bodies with slower detox capacity. Oil-roasted mixed nuts stack inflammatory omega-6 fats on top of already fragile metabolic systems, and sweetened or flavored nut products quietly sabotage blood sugar, blood vessels, and brain repair. But here's the empowering part. When chosen with precision, the right nuts become metabolic tools instead of traps. Walnuts provide plant-based omega-3s that support blood vessel flexibility, brain circulation, and anti-inflammatory signaling. Almonds deliver magnesium and vitamin E that protect neurons, stabilize blood sugar, and support mitochondrial energy when eaten raw or lightly prepared. Pistachios supply powerful antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin that protect the brain, eyes, and blood vessels from oxidative aging. The goal after 60 is not to avoid fats. It's to choose fats that tell your body it's safe to repair, not panic and store. Longevity isn't built on extremes. It's built on small, intelligent choices repeated daily. If you're over 60 and change nothing else, simply swapping the wrong nuts for the right ones and controlling portions can improve energy, focus, inflammation, and metabolic health. Aging doesn't have to mean decline. When you choose foods that match your biology, it can mean stability, clarity, and resilience. After 60, fat quality matters far more than calories, and this is one of the most misunderstood truths in nutrition. For decades, people were taught to fear fat itself. Count calories, avoid oil, choose low-fat foods, and everything will be fine. But aging biology doesn't respond to calorie math. It responds to biochemical signals, and fats are one of the strongest signals your body receives. Here's what's really happening inside your body as you age. As you move past 60, three quiet but powerful changes occur at the same time. First, your cells become less sensitive to insulin. That means your body has a harder time moving nutrients out of the bloodstream and into cells efficiently. Second, your liver becomes slower at processing and clearing fats. especially damaged or oxidized fats. And third, baseline inflammation rises even if you feel healthy. This combination completely changes how your body reacts to dietary fats. When you were younger, your system could tolerate a wider range of fat types. You could eat nuts roasted in oil, mixed snacks, or omega-6 heavy foods, and your body would adapt. But after 60, that tolerance narrows. The same fats now trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic slowdown. This is why fat quality matters more than fat quantity. Omega-6 fats are the biggest issue here. Omega-6 fatty acids are not evil. Your body needs them for immune signaling and cellular function. But the problem is excess and imbalance. Modern diets already provide far more omega-6 than omega-3, often in ratios of 15:1 or higher. In younger bodies, this imbalance is partially buffered. In aging bodies, it is not. What research shows is that aging cells convert excess omega-6 fats into pro-inflammatory signaling molecules more easily. These molecules irritate blood vessel walls, stiffen arteries, interfere with insulin signaling, and promote fat storage instead of fat burning. This is why someone can be eating healthy nuts daily and still experience rising triglycerides, joint stiffness, belly fat, brain fog, or fatigue. Another critical factor after 60 is oxidation. Fats are fragile molecules. Heat, light, oxygen, and time damage them. When nuts are roasted at high temperatures, fried in seed oils, or stored for months, their fats oxidize. These oxidized fats act like biological irritants once they enter the bloodstream. In younger people, the liver clears oxidized fats relatively efficiently. After 60, that clearance slows. These damaged fats circulate longer, triggering immune activation and chronic low-grade inflammation. You don't feel this immediately, but over months and years, it accelerates vascular aging, fatty liver progression, and cognitive decline. This is why calories alone don't explain health outcomes. Two people can eat the same number of calories from nuts. One chooses fresh, properly prepared nuts with favorable fat profiles. The other eats oil-roasted, omega-6 heavy varieties. One experiences improved cholesterol and energy. The other develops inflammation and metabolic stress. Same calories, completely different biochemical impact. There's also the issue of fat signaling. Fats don't just provide energy, they send messages to your cells. Certain fats tell your body, resources are abundant, repair can proceed. Others signal stress, danger, and survival mode. After 60, your body becomes highly sensitive to these messages. When inflammatory fats dominate, insulin rises more easily. Fat burning shuts down. Autophagy slows. Mitochondrial efficiency declines. This is why weight loss becomes harder, recovery slows, and energy dips, even when diet looks clean on paper. This is the mistake most people make. They focus on eating less fat instead of eating better fat. Longevity nutrition is not about restriction, it's about precision. After 60, your body thrives on fats that are stable, minimally processed, low in inflammatory omega-6, and rich in protective compounds like polyphenols and vitamin E. When those fats replace damaged or excessive omega-6 fats, inflammation quiets, insulin sensitivity improves, and metabolism stabilizes. This is why fat quality matters more than ever. It's not the handful of nuts that matters most. It's which nuts, how they're prepared, how much you eat, and when you eat them. When fat choices align with aging biology, they support clarity, resilience, and repair. When they don't, they quietly accelerate decline without obvious warning signs. And this understanding is the foundation for every smart food decision after 60. After 60, insulin signaling becomes one of the most fragile systems in the body, and this is where certain nuts quietly create problems, even when eaten in small amounts. Most people think insulin issues only come from sugar or refined carbs, but aging physiology doesn't see food labels. It responds to how foods behave once digested. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. It's a master switch that tells your body whether to burn energy or store it. When insulin rises, fat burning turns off, cellular repair slows, and the body shifts into storage mode. When insulin stays low and stable, repair, fat metabolism, and brain maintenance can proceed. As we age, this switch becomes less responsive. The insulin doorbell rings louder, but cells respond more slowly. That's insulin resistance. And once this process begins, foods that spike insulin, even subtly, have a much larger impact than they did earlier in life. This is where cashews become problematic. Cashews are often grouped with healthy nuts, but metabolically they behave very differently. They are significantly higher in carbohydrates and lower in fiber compared to most nuts. Once digested, they break down rapidly into glucose, which triggers a sharper insulin response than people expect from a natural food. Research shows that foods with this profile can spike insulin disproportionately, raise triglycerides, suppress fat-burning enzymes, and promote visceral fat storage. After 60, this matters more than calorie intake ever will. Here's why. When insulin rises frequently, your body stays stuck in storage mode. Autophagy slows, mitochondrial efficiency declines, hormonal signaling shifts away from repair and toward survival. This doesn't show up overnight, but over time it leads to stubborn belly fat, fatigue, joint inflammation, and brain fog, even in people who eat clean. Cashews also present a satiety problem. They're soft, easy to chew, and easy to overeat. Unlike fiber-rich nuts, they don't strongly activate fullness hormones. That means insulin rises without a strong stop-eating signal. In aging metabolism, that combination is disruptive. Now let's talk about peanuts, which create a different but equally important issue. Peanuts are not nuts, they are legumes, and legumes contain lectins, plant proteins that can irritate the gut lining when digestion is weaker. After 60, stomach acid and digestive enzyme output often decline. This makes the gut more vulnerable to lectin-induced irritation. What research shows is that lectins can increase intestinal permeability, often referred to as leaky gut. When the gut barrier weakens, inflammatory molecules and partially digested food particles enter the bloodstream. This triggers immune activation. And here's the key point. Inflammation that starts in the gut does not stay in the gut. It spreads systemically. It affects joints, blood vessels, insulin signaling, and even the brain. This is why people say, I eat peanut butter every day and still feel inflamed. It's not about calories, it's about immune signaling. There's also the issue of mold toxins. Peanuts are highly susceptible to aflatoxins, compounds that stress the liver. In younger bodies, detox systems can often compensate. After 60, liver clearance slows. The cumulative burden becomes more significant, especially when peanuts are eaten daily. Now add processing into the picture. Most commercial cashews and peanuts are roasted at high temperatures and often cooked in seed oils. This oxidizes their fats and adds extra omega-6 load. These oxidized fats circulate longer in aging bodies and intensify inflammatory signaling. This combination, insulin spikes, gut irritation, and inflammatory fats, is why these foods quietly sabotage metabolic health after 60. This does not mean cashews and peanuts are toxic. It means context and frequency matter. The protocol for adults over 60 is simple but important. Avoid cashews as a standalone snack. If eaten at all, keep portions extremely small and only with protein and fiber. Never eat them late at night when insulin sensitivity is lowest. For peanuts, avoid daily consumption. Skip sweetened or flavored versions. Choose single-ingredient products and limit frequency to a few times per week. At most, never eat them at night when the brain's overnight repair systems are active. Longevity nutrition is not about perfection, it's about understanding tolerance. What worked at 40 may quietly work against you at 60. When insulin signals are stabilized and gut inflammation is reduced, energy improves, fat metabolism resumes, and the body regains its ability to repair. And that's the real goal of healthy aging, not restriction but metabolic calm. After 60, processing matters just as much as food choice, and this is where many people unknowingly turn healthy nuts into inflammatory triggers. Most adults focus on what they eat, but aging biology responds more strongly to how food is prepared, stored, and combined. Here's what's really happening inside your body. Fats are among the most fragile nutrients we consume. Heat, light, oxygen, and time damage them easily. When nuts are roasted at high temperatures, fried in vegetable oils, flavored, sweetened, or stored for long periods, the fats inside them oxidize. These oxidized fats are no longer neutral fuel. They become biochemical stressors. In younger bodies, detox systems clear these damaged fats relatively quickly. After 60, that clearance slows. Oxidized fats circulate longer in the bloodstream, interacting with blood vessels, immune cells, and insulin receptors. This quietly increases inflammation and oxidative stress, even when total calorie intake looks reasonable. This is why oil-roasted mixed nuts are particularly problematic after 60. When nuts are roasted in sunflower, soybean, or canola oil, you're stacking omega-6 fats on top of omega-6 fats. The body already struggles with omega-6 overload as it ages. Adding oxidized seed oils intensifies inflammatory signaling and interferes with insulin sensitivity. The result isn't immediate pain or discomfort. It's subtle changes over time: stiffer arteries, rising triglycerides, slower fat burning, joint stiffness, and mental fatigue. Sweetened and flavo. Red nuts create another layer of stress. Honey-roasted, sugar-coated, or heavily salted nuts trigger insulin spikes while delivering damaged fats at the same time. This combination pushes the body into storage mode and suppresses cellular repair. After 60, repeated insulin spikes interfere with growth hormone release, overnight brain cleanup, and mitochondrial efficiency. This is why these products are metabolic traps, not health foods. Storage also matters more than people realize. Nuts are often stored for months in clear packaging under bright store lights. This accelerates fat oxidation. Rancid fats don't always smell or taste obviously bad, but biologically they behave like irritants. They activate immune pathways and increase oxidative damage at the cellular level. After 60, your body becomes far less forgiving of these subtle stressors. Now let's talk about timing. Eating nuts late at night, especially processed ones, interferes with nighttime repair systems. At night, the body shifts toward brain cleanup, tissue repair, and hormonal regulation. Inflammatory fats and insulin spikes disrupt this process, contributing to poor sleep, brain fog, and fatigue the next day. So what's the practical solution? Choose nuts that are raw or lightly dry roasted without added oils. Avoid flavored and sweetened varieties entirely. Store nuts in airtight containers, preferably in the refrigerator, to protect their fats. Keep portions modest. One small handful is enough. And eat them earlier in the day, ideally paired with protein or fiber. When nuts are treated with this level of precision, they support health. When they're overprocessed and poorly timed, they quietly accelerate aging. Longevity nutrition isn't about fear, it's about respect for biology. After 60, your body rewards foods that are clean, stable, and minimally processed, and it reacts strongly to foods that are damaged, overstimulating, or inflammatory, even when they come from healthy sources. The T awareness alone can dramatically shift how you age. After 60, the most powerful foods are not the ones that add calories, but the ones that improve cellular communication. This is the key distinction most people miss when it comes to nuts and healthy aging. The right nuts do not work by feeding the body more energy. They work by changing the signals your cells receive. Here's what's really going on inside your body. As we age, the body becomes more cautious. Cells prioritize survival over repair. Inflammation rises, insulin sensitivity declines, and blood vessels become less flexible. To reverse this trend, food must send a very specific message: safety. When cells sense safety, they activate repair pathways, improve blood flow, and restore metabolic balance. This is where certain nuts stand apart. Walnuts, almonds, and pistachios share three critical traits. They are lower in inflammatory omega-6 fats compared to common snack nuts. They contain antioxidants that protect cell membranes and blood vessels. And they provide micronutrients that support mitochondrial energy and insulin sensitivity. Walnuts are especially important after 60 because they provide alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fat. This fat integrates into cell membranes and supports anti-inflammatory signaling. Research shows that walnuts improve blood vessel elasticity, reduce inflammatory markers, and enhance cerebral blood flow. This matters for brain clarity, memory, and stroke risk. But walnuts only work when used correctly. Large portions overwhelm digestion and increase fat load. Sugar-coated or candied walnuts cancel their benefit by spiking insulin. Proper use means small portions, eaten with protein and fiber earlier in the day, and stored cold to prevent oxidation. Almonds support aging in a different way. They are rich in magnesium and vitamin E, two nutrients that decline with age and are critical for nerve function, glucose control, and vascular relaxation. Vitamin E protects neurons and blood vessels from oxidative damage. Magnesium stabilizes insulin signaling and supports muscle function. When almonds are raw or lightly prepared, they act as metabolic stabilizers. When they're oil roasted or sugar coated, those protective compounds are degraded. Preparation determines outcome. Pistachios provide another layer of protection. They contain lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that accumulate in the brain and eyes. These compounds protect neurons from oxidative stress and support communication between brain cells. Studies associate pistachio intake with improved antioxidant status and cognitive processing speed in older adults. Here's the common thread. These nuts don't shout to your metabolism. They whisper. They stabilize blood sugar instead of spiking it. They support blood vessels instead of irritating them. They encourage repair instead of storage. But portion size remains critical. Even the best nuts can become a metabolic burden if overeat. After 60, a small handful is enough. More does not mean better. Longevity is built on precision, not abundance. When these nuts are eaten with intention, proper portions, correct timing, minimal processing, they help the body feel safe enough to repair. That safety signal is what slows aging at the cellular level. Food doesn't need to be extreme to be powerful. It needs to be aligned with your biology. And when it is, aging becomes more stable, more resilient, and far more manageable. After 60, the difference between food that heals and food that harms is rarely the food itself. It's how often you eat it, how much you eat, and when you eat it. This is especially true with nuts. Even the healthiest nuts can quietly become a metabolic burden if portions, timing, and context are ignored. Here's what's really happening inside your body. As we age, metabolic flexibility declines. This means your body becomes slower at switching between burning glucose and burning fat. Insulin rises more easily, and it stays elevated longer. At the same time, digestion slows, bile production decreases, and the liver clears dietary fats less efficiently. All of this makes portion control and timing far more important than they were earlier in life. Nuts are calorie-dense by nature. That's not a flaw, but it does mean they deliver a concentrated metabolic signal. In younger bodies, excess fat intake can often be buffered. After 60, repeated large portions create metabolic traffic. Fats stay in circulation longer, insulin remains elevated, and repair pathways are suppressed. This is why portion size matters so much. A proper serving of nuts after 60 is not a bowl, it's a small handful, roughly 20 to 30 grams depending on the nut. That amount provides beneficial fats, antioxidants, and minerals without overwhelming digestion or triggering prolonged insulin signaling. Anything beyond that shifts the body toward storage mode instead of repair. Timing is the next critical factor. Insulin sensitivity follows a daily rhythm. It's highest earlier in the day and lowest at night. When nuts are eaten late in the evening, especially on their own, they raise insulin at the exact time the body should be shifting into repair and cleanup mode. This interferes with growth hormone release, fat metabolism, and the brain's overnight waste-clearing process. This is why nighttime nut snacking often leads to poor sleep, morning fatigue, brain fog, and stalled weight loss, even when total calories seem controlled. Daytime consumption tells a different story. When nuts are eaten earlier in the day, ideally with meals that include protein and fiber, insulin rises more gently and returns to baseline faster. This allows the body to use fats for signaling and repair instead of storage. It also reduces the risk of blood sugar spikes and lipid overload. Context matters just as much as timing. Eating nuts alone delivers a concentrated fat signal without stabilizing nutrients. Pairing nuts with protein and fiber slows digestion, blunts insulin response, and improves satiety. This is why nuts work best as part of a balanced meal, not as a standalone snack. Chewing also plays a role. It sounds simple, but proper chewing improves fat digestion and reduces gastrointestinal stress. Poorly chewed nuts can irritate digestion, especially in older adults with lower stomach acid and enzyme output. Slower eating improves satiety hormones and prevents accidental overeating. Now let's address frequency. Even healthy nuts should not necessarily be eaten every day by everyone over 60. Aging bodies vary in tolerance. Some people thrive with daily small portions. Others do better with nuts several times per week. The key is paying attention to energy, digestion, sleep quality, inflammation, and blood sugar trends. Longevity nutrition is not rigid, it's responsive. The final principle is intention. Nuts should be used as tools, not habits. When eaten mindlessly, they become easy sources of excess energy and inflammation. When eaten intentionally, correct portions, proper timing, minimal processing, they support blood vessels, brain health, insulin sensitivity, and metabolic calm. This is the reframe that changes everything. Healthy aging is not about eating more superfoods. It's about reducing metabolic noise. When food choices are precise, the body shifts out of defense mode and back into repair. After 60, small decisions carry more weight. But that's good news, because small, intelligent changes create powerful results. When you respect portion size, timing, and context, nuts stop being a hidden trap and become exactly what they were meant to be: a quiet support for strength, clarity, and resilience as you age.